thank you so much for joining us today. As we prepare to implement standards-based grading, we want to address the impact that will have on you, your classroom, and the students and the community. We're here to discuss how the standards for standards-based reporting are determined, enacted, and communicated. What is a standard-based report card? If we look at Sada, Guskey, and Spencer, we can see that standard-based report cards have several components. They show measurable student progress toward each standard. They give a clear picture of student performance, strengths and weaknesses in specific content and skill areas. They provide clear and useful information for both students and parents, and they are aligned with specific standards. Katie would like to share some statements from parents on standard-based report cards before we get started.
Thank you, Anna. The first parent I spoke with said, "It would be nice to know what my child is able to do by standard for each grade level and what they need extra help with. I just hope my child's teacher is teaching all the standards and not just the ones listed on the report card." Another parent I spoke to said, "I think standards should be listed to give me a clear picture of what my child knows and doesn't know. I would like to know the standards that will affect my child in the next grade to be listed on the report card. For example, subtraction? Yes. Cursive? No." The third parent that I spoke with said, "I do not like standards lumped together because a 2 on a report card for fractions does not tell me what part of fractions my child does or does not understand." And finally, the last parent that I spoke with said, "I hope the teacher is keeping track of whether or not my child is learning every day. If my child isn't, I hope she would do some sort of intervention to help her learn the standard."
Thank you, Katie. So I have brought two people here today. Lisa and Jan have joined us to talk about standard-based report cards. So let's go ahead and get started. So my first question, should all Common Core state standards be on a report card?
Oh, no, because the primary consumer is the parent. We should give them more information than a traditional report card, but not overwhelm them. Spencer said that parents felt report cards were too long and confusing when presented with all of the standards on one report card, and the average time a parent spends looking at a report card is 10 minutes.
You know, also teachers don't necessarily have time to teach all the standards to mastery in each grade. And so a modified version allows the teachers to focus on promise standards. And Amy Taylor defines promise standards as standards we promise parents that we will teach at each grade level.
So how does a school or district decide which standards to focus on for the report card?
Well, Douglas Reeves offers Marzano's 3-part test for teams to consider as they assess the significance of a particular standard. First, does the standard have endurance? Which means, do we really expect students to retain the knowledge and skills throughout their lifetimes as opposed to merely learning it for a test? And second, does the standard provide readiness for the next level of instruction? Is it essential for the success in the next unit or course or grade level? And third, does the standard have leverage? Knowledge and skills that cross over into many domains of learning.
In elementary, our priority standards are used all year. They're important to development, they run into other grades, they're relevant to the SBAC, and these priority standards have longitudinal and latitudinal importance. You know, bands of grade work together for longitudinal importance. And we can organize these standards by ones we make time for, they're non-negotiable, ones we find time for, and ones that if we have time for.
So that leads to a great question. So how many standards give a good picture to parents?
Well, as many standards as are needed to tell parents where the student's doing well and where they're struggling without being too many.
According to Tom Schimmer, don't give too much and don't give too little. In kindergarten through 2nd grade, proficiency may need to be reported out a little bit more detail because there's so much growth that occurs in those grades that with different skills that more information is needed. In grades 3 through 5, prioritizing the standards shows growth the very best, be thorough but not overwhelming, And in secondary grades, stick to the domains or strands, maybe the occasional substandard in a strand.
So because there are so many standards, should standards be lumped together to report on?
No, standards should not be lumped together. That would not allow parents to understand which part of the standard that the student is really struggling with and help them at home.
I would say it doesn't matter. Sometimes most standards are lumped together because it makes the reporting tool more efficient and effective. There needs to be a balance, and this is where the professional decision making comes in.
So in your conversations with educators and your own experiences, observations, do educators perceive the standards-based report card has impact on teaching and learning?
Well, it depends on the teacher whether or not they perceive this report card to have an impact on the students and their learning. Teachers who believe that the first quarter is a summative assessment for the year tend to see it more as students making progress on the standards that have been taught. And teachers who view the report card as they got it or they don't tends to be the ones with I taught it and it's time to move on mentality.
I would say yes, because focus standards scaffold on what the teacher is teaching and make the end result the ability to work backward. In other words, the standards-based report card comes from the standards-based evidence, which comes from the standards-based teaching. So teachers know what they're teaching and what students know, which helps them understand what it is they're reporting. The standards-based report cards don't have anything to do with raising student performance. That comes from the formative assessments and the effective feedback that the teacher gives to the students. However, this system does affect the student's willingness to learn.
So really, I know the teachers here really want to know about the daily assessment. So how does the standard-based report card impact daily assessments in the classroom?
Daily assessments allow the teachers to make sure that the students are understanding the standards or the piece of standard that they're learning during that day or that particular time period. These assessments are done before the report card is marked and allow the teachers to continue to teach to mastery before the report card is given to the parents. Munoz and Guskey have shown this is true in their research.
And Shelley Bond said that formative assessment, whiteboard checks, exit tickets, etc., as well as self-tracking with students, allows the teacher to know what each student knows at any given moment.
So throughout our press briefing, I noticed that Jen and Lisa both use different terms when referring to standards. So they call them priority standards, focus standards, essential standards, and promise standards. These terms have various meanings depending on who's using them and how they are defining them. So we would recommend that a universal terminology and definition for these chosen standards be determined for clarification. Now, there's also some things, that we think need further research, consideration, investigation, or clarification. So implementing a standards-based reporting tool takes time, and it has an intentional process. Standards-based reporting should be fair, reliable, valid, and useful. Students that fail to grasp a concept the first time are given multiple attempts to show mastery. This allows grades to be more meaningful to both teachers and students and parents. With this type of reporting tool, only mastery of concepts matter. Now, the purpose of this reporting system is to be helpful to teachers, the students, and the parents. We're not here to make more work for you. Now, another recommendation we have for the community is to work together. Parents and teachers should be addressing the report cards all together. Thank you.